And again, I think we're live.
Yep.
And if you can hear us, as always, let us know in the comments. In the meantime, we'll wait a few minutes. Comme ça, everyone can join. Okay. Okay, let me check the banner. All right. So, yeah, by the way, Streamer had this banner feature. It's actually sometimes useful. باي ذا واي وقتاش كان دب دي سي هذا العام جو بونس ما كانش في اي ثينك جوست ريسنتلي
كان في الاخر كان في الاخر جوان
yeah
it was really a nice keynote the offline version. I was like wondering زعما كيفاش غيكون كيفاش غيديروا ليه واش بحال some other companies بحال مثلا جو بونس ديال الريفيل ديال بلاي ستيشن 5 I guess it was a bit boring فهمتي just like someone speaking background كحله and that's it like but with the WWDC like it was really good فهمتي
it was like 3D animation
3D animation and they showcased the office ديالهم it was really cool
واخا صراحه many people I still prefer the usual WWDC زعما هذا it was they did like a little bit of effort باش يطلعوا زوين مي واخا هكاك you don't feel the usual WWDC feeling
indeed
مي جو بونس سي بلوتو عندها علاقه بالاودينس ماشي بسميتو
another I've seen some people talking في community Twitter حتى sessions they like the sessions better حيت قال لك previously كانوا كاع sessions كتلقى فيهم مثلا 40 minutes حيت like when they book like a room they have to make it like 40 minutes ماشي يديروا غير 5 ولا 10 minutes right because it doesn't make sense to book a room ودير غير 10 minutes but with the offline version you can do like whatever the duration تقدر n'importe quoi like 5 10 minutes 40 minutes it's okay and people they like that like مثلا like إلا كان مثلا session هي what's new in Swift 5 ولا Swift like 5.3 like you can تقول like what's new in Swift like in 15 minutes غادي تسالي وغتمشي بحالك فهمتي
makes sense
I mean there is no reason to drag
if
people.
You can hear us, I don't know if people can hear us, by the way. If you can hear us, please let us know. I see that around 10 people are already watching, so let us know in the comments if you can hear us, if the sound is good. I don't know which sound source I'm using. Okay. Je pense que هذا العام كانوا more sessions que في WWDC que العام الفايت je pense, right?
Yeah,
I saw like a lot more sessions que العام الفايت, so that was really dope.
The question هو واش Apple is gonna continue في هذا الفورما ولا لا زعما after COVID and everything are they gonna continue هذا الفورما
je pense pas زعما صعيب يخلوه اونلاين باسكو سي بلو كومبليكي انهم زعما لا برودكسيون مور كومبليكيتد et en même temps داك having people in the room or having journalists or having those things it adds to the magic ديال Apple event. It's 8:05, so let's get started with
all right
with the live. Thank you to everyone who joined today. I'm Zach, your host, back for another episode. We ما درناش الابيزود ديال last week due to unforeseen circumstances. Sorry about that. Voilà, we're back with a different episode this time. Donc, it's not the episode about resume, sort of resume hacks and resume tips and tricks. Mais plutôt, it's a special episode على iOS. Donc, c'est la première fois اللي غندير episode على iOS. Et معنا اليوم الجست ديالنا هو سليم, who's senior iOS developer at Gemography of course. وغيهضر لنا بيان سور في الاول على شنو كيفاش بدا iOS, you know how many years هو كيدير iOS and so on. التوبيك ديال اليوم بيان سور هو becoming a senior iOS developer ولا plutôt how to become a senior iOS developer. بيان سور غنهضروا على دوطخ توبيك around the main topic اللي هما شنو هما skills اللي تيخصو senior iOS developers, شنو لا ديفيرونس ما بين junior iOS developer and senior iOS developer, شنو هما his thoughts على Swift UI and so on and so forth. Et bien sûr, I'm gonna probably contribute to the conversation vu que my background تانية iOS is iOS development initialement بObjective-C الله يرحمه, ومن بعد bien sûr بSwift. Mais voilà, mais mainly غادي تكون la discussion على plutôt Swift, على iOS وعلى plutôt la carrière ديال senior iOS developer. If you have questions, let us know in the comments. We can discuss them real time, donc we don't have to wait till the end to discuss the questions. And voilà, donc Salim, give us a brief introduction of yourself. You know, what are you currently doing, and when did
all right. you? All right. So thank you, Zach, for having me today. So yeah, quick introduction about myself. I'm Salim. So yeah, in terms of iOS, بديت iOS نقولوا 5 سنين maybe هذه 5 سنين, like when I was at school. أنا هضر علاش like there's iOS, like علاش iOS وماشي other technologies. So back in the days, the options that I had in terms of technologies كان الويب وكان desktop وكان الموبile, right? So I think هذوما التكنولوجيز اللي كانوا. So the thing, I've tried web development. Problem is الويب وسيرتو الفرونت ما كانش بحال الفرونت ديال دابا. I mean زعما right now الويب الفرونت it's really awesome زعما in terms of technologies, React and some CSS frameworks بحال SAS etc. شحال هادي ما كانش هادشي, like it was not as good as right now. كان CSS حرفي and it was really hard to work with. كان jQuery so it was really hard to work with. So I tried a little bit of front classic. I've tried some desktop apps you know بجافا بداك اسم داك التكنولوجي كنقراو في السكول جافا swing or something like this.
كاين swing je pense.
You know, yeah.
Desktop
yeah.
Spring pour le web, bon Spring pour le backend et G2E خلاص obviously.
Yeah. So voilà, technologies they were not really developer friendly. فهمتي وتماك when I tried iOS and tried Xcode, C2 Xcode, right? Xcode like drag and drop, you connect stuff like with storyboard مع الكود, like it was very very developer friendly, very easy to use. بحال تقول ما كانت لا بارير اونتري ما كانتش طالعه بزاف, like من غير لو في كو you need to buy a Mac, like with the moment like you get a Mac working with Xcode Excel, like it was really fun.
Je pense c'est d'abord باقا لا بارير à l'entrée هو you need to buy a Mac, right?
Yeah, mais une fois كتفوت هذيك, like the tool itself there Xcode, it's really fun to work with, right? So voilà, تماك that's why I started iOS شحال هادي. That's the main reason. Sinon, right now, I would say زعما web development, if زعما كون بديت like tech right now, I would go with maybe web, because you know technologies for are really awesome right now. سواء لا في الباك end لا في الفرونت, really good. So yeah, that's how I started iOS. So you know what else? What I'm doing right now? Yeah, I'm working in Gemography.
شنو خدمتي بزاف سويفت اوبجيكتيف سي؟
I بديت iOS just بحال قلت few months before Swift, the introduction ديال Swift. So I did a little bit of Objective C. I've learned iOS Objective C. I written some of dummy apps or pet projects Objective-C. But then like when Swift was introduced to WWDC, I think the 2015 I switched directement ديك الساعه لسويفت.
abandonné Objective-C, nice.
I abandoned Objective. I'm sorry, Zach. I'm sorry,
Zach.
When
given the options, كلشي abandonné Objective-C.
Yeah, I think the Objective-C هو اللي كان شويه مصعب القضيه. Like it was a weird language. فهمتي زعما when you learn about like for example Java in school and maybe C++, Python كاع and then كدوز Objective-C اول حاجه كتضربك هي how methods for Objective-C like they are weird. فهمتي it's just a weird concept. فهمتي
I like that you called it weird وماشي something else. Like زعما I understand that Objective-C is a complicated. I mean, it's not complicated صراحة. It's just like weird. It's different.
It's unique. It's a unique language. فهمتي
It is a unique language, but I stopped using it من نهار خرج بين Swift. Okay, like except زعما a few times. Definitely it's very زعما I like it. I wouldn't use it today. I still like it.
Yeah.
Surtout la partie verbose ديال Objective-C, it's very cool. Like كيكون عندك لي ميثود vraiment طوال ولكن تقرا سميه ديال الميثود you immediately understand. You understand شنو كدير. I mean
they kept the same philosophy of Swift. زعما the long naming.
Of course.
They kept the same philosophy of Swift because it worked. فهمتي it's something that
وحتى en même temps حيت ما بغاوش عاوتاني يبريكيو ما بغاوش
they don't want to
فهمتي دونك واخا you don't want to change عاوتاني الميثود names partout. I mean you can but but preferably you don't. Okay, donc voilà, donc خدمتي لا most of the time Swift. What are you currently doing?
So when I joined Demography I was mainly I was a full-time sorry?
اللي كانت سميتها Hidden Founders ومن بعد ولات سميتها
okay.
Right.
So 4 years ago it was called Hidden Founders. I joined like when it was called Hidden Founders. So at the time like I was a full-time iOS developer like I built many iOS apps. من بعد throughout the years I've tried different technologies like a little bit of backend and data engineering. But right now, like it's like I'm wearing multiple hats. Sometimes like I do iOS, sometimes I do backend, data engineering, and most of the time it's hiring, like interviewing candidates and coming up with quiz questions for and so on and so forth. Right.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the introduction. I already knew most of this, but thank you for the introduction. Voilà, donc let's get to the topic. Ou bien sûr, topic again to give a reminder. Topic اليوم هو how to become a senior iOS developer ولا how like what it's like to be a senior iOS developer وشنو زعما الشوز اللي كيكونوا specific about being a senior iOS developer. Après bon, الحاجه الاولى اللي بغيت نسولك هي كيفاش انت كديفيني بعدا لو رول ديال iOS developer. C'est iOS developer, c'est quoi le rôle exactement? What's the day to day like? Pour les gens bien sûr اللي ما داروش peut-être iOS قبل ولا عندهم غير une idée سواء bien sûr pour les gens اللي داروا iOS قبل ولا déjà they are like a mid-level or senior level developers, iOS developers, I mean they probably should know because they do that every day. But for the people who are watching us and not aware of this, what's your definition?
Well, I think زعما iOS developer بحال any front-end developer for example في الويب. So في الويب basically as a web developer like on a daily basis you have like a sketch file or maybe InVision something, you have a design and you need to turn that design into code, right? You need to implement the design, right? But of course like for web developers they use React, they use the other technologies, and I guess it's the same thing like for iOS. Like you have a design and you need to turn that design into pixel, you need to turn it into code, and you use other technology, you use Swift, Xcode, UIKit, and so on and so forth. But I think like there is like a huge difference in terms of technologies between like the mobile and the web. Like في الموبل زعما هما جو بونس under the same category ديال front end development, but in terms of بحال نقول paradigm, in terms of technologies very very different. Like في الموبل ما كاينش CSS, programming languages شويه they are imperative, like you need to create classes and so on and so forth.
جو بونس iOS تانسبيرا بزاف من الديسكتوب اكثر من
اكثر من الويب
اكثر من الويب. زعما فاش كرياو iOS تكريا بلوتو قريب للديسكتوب اكثر من it kind of makes sense حيت دو توت فاصون iOS was based on OS 10,
exactly.
Xcode كان اصلا الاي دي اي ديال OS 10. دونك Apple were like let's keep it simple. اجي نديروا شي لعبه اللي اصلا فاميليير للاو اس 10 ديفلوبرز، باسكو ما تنساش راه لا بلوبار ديال اي او اس ديفلوبرز في الاول كانوا او اس 10 ديفلوبرز. دونك ما تزويدوا، دونك سيتي بلوتو سا سيتي كيفاش نديروا ان فريم ورك ولا ان اس دي كي اللي غيجي شويه ساهل لا ترانزيسيون الاو اس 10 ديفلوبرز.
Yeah, right.
But I 100% agree. Yeah, definitely.
I think transition من web developer الموبل ولا فايس فيرسا it's gonna be شويه challenging. فهمتي؟ it's not ماشي بحال مثلا فاش كدير ترانزيسيون من لايك رياكت للفيو ولا رياكت للانجولار، دوز من الويب للموبل ولا الموبل it's gonna be challenging. It's very different concept, new concept. فهمتي؟
الحمد لله انا بديت اي او اس ما كنتش كنعرف حتى حاجه قبل منها. دونك فهمتي ما كنتش كنعرف لا الويب لا الديسكتوب لا حاجه. اول حاجه هي اوبجيكتيف ديال ويلي شنو هو هادشي. اوكي سينو قدر قبيله جي مونسيوني كو زعما لايك being a senior iOS developer is a little bit it's not different to me. It's like similar to being a senior for other technologies. Since we're talking about senior, let's talk also about junior. وشنو هما لي ديفيرونس بين senior و junior. peut-être بزاف ديال differences غادي يكونوا هما لي ميم في technologies الاخرين. if you're doing pull request reviews في الويب راه غدير pull request reviews حتى في iOS اللي كنتي senior. جونيور غدير pull request reviews مي peut-être ماشي بحال الا كنتي senior ولا peut-être ماشي بنفس البوان دو في. بيان سور كاينين شي حوايج اللي اللي سبيسيفيك الاي او اس. شنو هما الحوايج اللي كتشوف ار ديفرنس اللي ميكس ذا ديفرنس ما بين senior iOS developer junior iOS developer؟
Déjà, I'm gonna give like نقول la différence en général, like not really زعما ماشي بالضرورة specific to iOS.
Yeah.
So junior developers they create more bugs than senior developers. The main difference, right?
I mean,
junior
not only difference, but yeah.
I mean, definitely
we can allow it.
But one of them. When you are sort of when you are not experienced, like when you are discovering something like for the first time, there is like a high chance that you're gonna make some mistakes, right? That you're gonna learn from them. That's how people learn development. They learn through trial and error. Trial and error mean making mistakes, making bugs, and so on and so forth. So that's sort of one difference between the two. There is also the fact that junior developers sometimes they're gonna feel stuck. Like say if you give them like a complex screen, maybe they wouldn't know how to create it. Maybe because it's very complex, it uses some very weird animation or interaction. So senior developer, again with the experience, they've seen like different sort of edge cases and so on and so forth. Yassine, by the way, thank you very much, Yassine Khshani.
Okay.
قال لك اخي كنبان انا اكثر منك even though I'm younger.
Thank you, Yassine.
Thank you.
For the people who are wondering, we're not related. We just have the same last name, but it's just a coincidence. But thank you Yassine for joining us. And if you haven't yet, إلا ما عمركم تفرجتوا في BBN, definitely make sure to do so. Okay,
All right.
في le même thème ديال differences ما بين senior junior, je pense que par exemple senior كيكونوا عندهم plus de responsabilité من غير dev, c'est-à-dire as a senior généralement كتكون responsable على code
yeah,
review,
you're supposed to code reviews,
request,
maybe mentoring juniors developers, شوية ديال leadership and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And also بحال تقول being responsible على ال overall architecture of the app and this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely like sort of the difference between the two.
Yeah, 100%.
So, in terms like of specific, like maybe specifically to iOS, I think like senior developers, they know more obscure sort of APIs for framework. They know more framework. They know more like they know how to, I would say, do complex animations. They know how to set up a good architecture, مثلا in VVM or Viper. Yeah, this kind of thing. They know more like
مثلا شنو هما مثلا الحوايج اللي فاش كنتي جونيور ديفلوبر ما كنتيش عندك معاهم بزاف, once you became a senior you had to learn them, par exemple. Je suppose an example هو par exemple, I don't know, I mean besides obviously the common stuff, it can be like animation, بحال مثلا animations ولا doing custom animations. As a junior, I guess you're not necessarily gonna know how to do like super custom animations, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. Animation, it's one. Yeah, I do remember like when I was a junior, the mistake that I was doing like over and over, like whenever I started working on a project, eventually, like when the project grows a little bit, eventually I end up like with what we call the massive view controller, right? Like you end up creating a view controller, like خيالي, you know what I mean? Like it's so big. 500 اللي eventually like صافي like انت the developer صافي كتلف تماك, like ما كتبقاش عارف like how are you gonna add new features ولا refactor the code ولا وفين l'impact كيبان the most هو like when you're working in an app we eventually كيكونوا like enhancements, changes. So the mistake اللي كنت كندير بزاف هو whenever like I make a change, like مثلا I did an enhancement, I ended up breaking something else. Like I can demon I do the same mistake. Like I have a screen, I have a feature, it works, من بعد the moment like I add something new like enhancement or wherever كنلقى شي feature اخرى بريكات, فهمتي? And it's mostly because the code is a mess, right? Big view controllers, dependencies, like ما بينش داكشي تماك. كاين هذا التوبيك هذه I worked on this a lot. This was a major challenge like when I was like a junior developer. وعاد من بعد of course there is like obscure sort of obscure frameworks اللي هو الانيميشن. كان واحد شحال هذه كان سميتو core animation. Right now there are other بحال نقول there are easier APIs to do animation. مي شحال هذه like core animation it was really hard to work with. There is of course core data. It was again one of the frameworks very hard to work with. Yeah, and so on and so forth. Bien sûr there are use cases of using this framework. Depends on the feature. Like sometimes feature it needs to have an animation and you need to do it. So and when you try to do it, like you discover the API is really hard to work with, right?
100%, yeah.
I mean, even مثلا غير animating between like view controllers, like you have مثلا بحال ديك الكلاسيك pull to مثلا presentation animation ولا animation ديال navigation controller. غير if you want to customize this kind of animation, it was بحال تقول it wasn't clear exactly how to do it, فهمتي؟ زعما even if you Google things around, you're not gonna discover مثلا something easy to work with ولا شي حاجه like باينه, فهمتي؟
جو بونس الاي بي اي قال a little bit easier زعما جو بونس في الاول
مع الوقت مع الوقت
هذه 5 سنين كان الانيميشن اي بي اي شويه كومبليكي مع الوقت it got a little bit easier the Apple زعما they did a good
another thing
job there.
هو بحال another thing with animation هو sometimes it works sometimes it doesn't but then sometimes like you animate like a view and it works right sometimes like you wanna animate a different property ديال view and it doesn't work like nothing social ما كاين حتى شي animate and you don't understand فهمتي كتقول اوكي كيفاش هذا الفريم ورك كيخدم فهمتي ديال علاش sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work you see what I mean دونك بحال تقول being senior هو I would say digging deeper ولا بحال تقول mastering the framework فهمتي هو ديك الماستري في الفريم ورك ديال how deep you know the framework فهمتي
شنو هما الارياز زعما في هذا لو بوين ديال هذا لو بوين ديال ماسترين الفريم ورك شنو هما الكومبوننتس ولا شنو هما البارتيكولار لايك سبيسيفيك لايبراريز ولا ماشي لايبراريز مي سبيسيفيك سب فريم وركس اللي مهمين بزاف سيدير في يو اي كيت شنو هما is it like the maps APIs ولا ال APIs ديال location ولا APIs ديال animation ولا like شنو هما ال APIs اللي بالنسبة لك are very important to learn as an iOS developer en général ولا شنو هما ال APIs اللي peut-être في الأول as a junior you don't need to worry about بحال مثلا table view خصك تكون عارفة junior ولا senior right شنو هما الحوايج اللي شنو هما الحوايج اللي peut-être as a senior you need to know to call yourself a senior?
All right. I mean, what do you need to know as a senior? Definitely how to do animation properly. Basically, تكون like a buggy animation. It's like when you use the framework ديال animation, كاين sort of so many levels. You can do an animation, it's gonna look شوية بحال تقول كتلاقي الانيميشن ولا مثلا it doesn't work like under certain circumstances maybe وكاين بحال تقول الماستري هنايا في الانيميشن like you can مثلا make it like very polished another thing هو you can there are like hundred of ways of doing animation تقدر ما تخدمش كاع بالاي بي اي ديال ابل you can do animation manually but بحال تقول yeah and the problem with this is that I've seen like a junior developer doing this and I used to do this like sometimes مثلا ما كتكونش عارف I can an actual API to do something and so غير كتهاكيها فهمتي you just find a hack eventually bugs occur فهمتي like سواء مثلا when a new iOS version is introduced داكشي ديالك كيبريكي ولا مثلا انت ما فكرتيش في certain edge cases وكتبريكي الانيميشن ديالك ولا اليو اي من بعد you discover there are actually بحال تقول built-in APIs ديال Apple اللي ديجينا بحال تقول simplified stuff and they are well integrated with the framework with UI kit. Yeah, I do remember because that was بحال تقول the major problem هو بحال تقول I have a complex UI كنبدا نخربق حتى كتصدق ومن بعد كتبريكي من بعد I do research وعاد discover okay راه there is an action كاين واحد الاي بي اي اللي where you can do this فهمتي دابا المشكل في الاي اس كوميونيتي بحال تقول كوميونيتي ما كبيراش بزاف so research stuff is a bit hard right
الدوكيومنتاسيون ابل ماشي حتى توب نوتش
كيخصك مثلا تمشي تشوف دابا دي سيشنز القدام تقرا عليهم and so on and so forth So كانت question ديالك هو what kind of technologies you need to know بس بحال تقول تكون as an senior iOS developer. MapKit definitely is one of them. As a developer throughout your career you're gonna work with map-based apps. So mastering MapKit, playing around with it is definitely a must.
Surtout drawing
if you want to draw stuff on top ولا مثلا creating custom pins you know دوك البينز اللي تيكونوا في الماب if you want to do like a view تحطها تماك so on and so forth
حيت دير بين في ماب كيت زعما it's not rocket science, right? Like
it's easy, yeah,
you can learn quickly. Mais c'est plutôt how can you do like custom views في map kit, how can you draw like routes, mais plutôt ماشي like default APIs and so on.
Right. There is also architecture, مثلا knowing how to avoid the massive view controller. ماشي غير massive view controller هو problem. Sometimes like when you want to avoid the massive view controller, مثلا let's say خدمتي ب MVVM, right? MVVM definitely solves the problem ديال massive view controller, but it also create the problem ديال massive view model, right? في الاخر you didn't solve anything غير حولتي like massive view controller ديتي massive view model. Also حنا you need to learn شويه ديال how to do system design, شويه ديال design pattern. You need to have this knowledge بحال مثلا solid principles, you need to know them so that you can create like so that the classes ديالك يكونوا small and reusable and so on and so forth. So yeah, so architecture, knowing how to keep the code clean, definitely this is like a senior developer should know. There is also debugging skills, very important. Junior developers, they tend to debugging كامل غير by printing, log. Right? Just print log, just print this NS log, or maybe print. There are so many great tools that can sort of make debugging very easier. if there are memory leaks, there is a tool in Xcode where you can view the memory. It's called the memory debugger, and there are like instruments to measure the app's performance. Very useful. And there are other important they are not very known, but they are very useful, especially like for the pretty sure like iOS developer definitely كيطيحوا فيه هو sometimes like there are some app crashes والerror كتلا غير bad access, something like exception bad access, just some vague error. فهمتي ما كتعرفش like exactly what happened. هنايا كاينين بحال some tools that can help with this بحال مثلا the address sanitizers, zombies. هادو they help with بحال debugging the memory, right? بحال مثلا like when this exception bad access like happen, what this means is that the code tried to access a memory that is deallocated, right? So these kind of tools, they help catch these errors, right? So yeah, again, debugging skills. We talked about debugging skills, architecture, animation like using some proper API to do animation. What else?
What about networking? Because almost every iOS app nowadays, I mean, even games nowadays have a lot of networking.
Well, I think junior developers, they know how to do networking. When you start developer, as a junior developer, ضروري كتسمع
basic API calls, right? Alamofire.
كتسمع Alamofire. I think دابا اي junior developer كيعرف Alamofire. فهمتي like everyone knows Alamofire. Now they know how to use it. But I think فين كيكون like la différence هو organizing the networking layer. فهمتي I used مثلا when I was a junior networking code كنت كنعيط ليه من الفيو كنترولر مره من الفيو كنترولر مره من الفيو موديل والهاندلين ديالو تا هو تيكون في الفيو كنترولر المهم دغيا كتنوض الروينه عاوتاني فهمتي. when I didn't know زعما الكود ديال networking بحال مثلا services and so on شحال هادي like كان الفيو كنترولر هو بحال تقول هو السيرفيس itself فهمتي. So organization parts هي اللي is missing عند الجونيورز فهمتي like figuring out how to organize the networking layer. Senior developer they fix this problem. So by creating their own networking layer or using like a library. And by the way, one of the popular libraries for networking is called the Moya. I'm not sponsoring the framework, but it's a cool library. Yeah.
Definitely, I use it too, and it's super useful.
Super useful.
Je pense theme ديال الفرق زعما like as a senior developer الحوايج اللي كتعلم versus being a junior developer في iOS ولا peut-être بلايص اخرين هو هذا البوان ديال best practices اللي بزاف فيهم كتعلمهم by trial and error ولا by like reading a lot of books ولا just by experience building apps. هو كتسمي واحد الميثود شي حاجه ديال النيتوركين ومن بعد حتى كيدوز 6 شهور عادي you're like damn like that should have not been called as مثلا ولا هاد الميثود اصلا ما كانش خصها تكون ولا كانت خصها تكون مع واحد الميثود اخرى ديال نيتوركين something like that like it's very simple things اللي من بعد كتلقى راسك كتريفاكتوري و جو بونس مع you become a senior you start refactoring less حيت you start making less mistakes ولا less bad decisions في كيفاش كتورغانيزي الكود ودونك الفيتشرز كتولي تامبليمونطيهم بلو فاسيلمون باسكو كتولي عارف من الاخر خصني
you know
بغيت تسكرين غير خصها 3 methods في networking 2 methods هنا 3 methods هنا and it's done alors que as a when you're a junior كتبقى تمشي في some paths اللي ما كيديو حتى شي بلاصه كدير 3 ميثود ديال networking بعد كتحيد وحده وكتزيد 5 وكتحيد 5 كتحيد 7 وكتزيد 3 وكتبقى كتلعب في الميثودز حتى كتلقى فينالمون لا فيرسيون فينال.
I do remember I have an example كنت خدمت على واحد الاب شحال هادي و it was just a simple table view, right? It was a table view and you know it worked fine. It was like a massive view controller. ومن بعد I think the product owner wanted to بحال نقول first rotate his screen instead of a table view يبانوا like بحال نقول collection view يبانوا 2 columns, right? And I was like, okay, الفيو كنترولر عندي ديجا فيه it's a table view. So إلا بغيت نريفاكتوري then I need to use like a collection view and everything like كان في الفيو كنترولر, right? Table view والنتوركين والبزنس لوجيك كلشي كان في الفيو كنترولر. It took me I guess one day كامل like نهار كامل more than 8 hours refactoring the thing. For the product owner, it's just a simple change, right? غادي تروتي سكرين غيبانوا 2 columns. So what's the problem? Mais vu que le code it was not organized, it was كلشي محطوط في الفيو كنترولر. غير لو في كو خصني نبدل الفيو خصني نبدل التيبل فيو بكولكشن فيو it broke down everything في ذاك الفيو كنترولر. النيتورك البيزنس نود كلشي broke down فهمتي. عاد من بعد حيد بحال نقول شديت داك الفيو كنترولر حيدتو I created the new view controller again from scratch. زعما بحال نقول you learn through mistakes and sometimes it's very painful. Mais that's بحال نقول the way to learn فهمتي.
زعما tu peux accélérer la chose, c'est-à-dire tu peux accélérer la chose, c'est-à-dire reading blog posts helps a lot, watching sessions the WWDC helps a lot because they have a ton of best practices.
They do.
Also tutorials on YouTube. Some tutorials are like very basic. Some tutorials like have the wrong approach to do things. For simplicity,
right.
Example بحال مثلا علاش جينيرالمون في الفيو كنترولر كتحط نيتوركين والبزنس لوجيك وهذا حيت لا بلوبار ديال التوتوريالز داكشي اللي كيديروا ولكن التوتوريال فاش كيدير كلشي في الفيو كنترولر ماشي حيت هذيك هي البيست براكتيس سي جوست باسكو سي اتس ا توتوريال زعما ديال سي بلو رابيد ديال ما غنديرش توتوريال فيه 10 مينوت وغندير فيه البيست براكتيسز تا هما مي اون ميم طون اتس فيري امبورتانت تو ريد لايك بلوج بوست على البيست براكتيسز على ديال اون فيت راه ما خصش يكون كلشي في بلاصه وحده وماشي بلا بلا. Let's take some questions actually. Isaac asked, what do you think about React Native iOS? Je sais que you don't have a lot of experience with that, mais from what you read, from what you saw.
I mean, there are many great startups, many great apps that they are using React Native, and it works just fine. I think one app is called Artsy. They are very popular in the iOS community. One of the developers هو اللي كريا CocoaPods. Initially كانوا خدامين ب iOS, it was native. من بعد they switched to React Native, and I've read some blog posts. They are saying that it's a really great framework. It has بحال نقول some issues. the thing is iOS native في some issues you just need to work with issues ديال React Native. I think one of the criticism اللي I hear for React Native هو debugging شويه فيه صعيب زعما بارابور Xcode. It has so many advantages بحال like داك live reloading, like you change something وكيطرو لي دا rapidement ماشي بحال في Xcode you need to build the app every time you change something. So voila, I think that's the thing. But you know, Zama, it's many startups Zama, they are adopting React Native and it works just fine with them, right? I think another criticism was performance. Maybe some people they say like بحال نقول البيلد يكون كبير and زعما like par rapport native البيلد when you build the app is شويه كبيره, it's a bit slower. But I guess like if you are sort of if you're just a small startup, I guess, or maybe app is small, it's okay to use React Native in this case, right?
Yeah, 100%. Right. Yasin asked, is there any iOS specific challenges around versioning and collab with other devs on same code base?
Now I'm not sure we understand the question. Can you, Zach, help me?
Yeah, je pense it's mostly related. Yeah, I think it's mostly related with like the usual problem ديال فاش كتمرجي storyboards like merge conflicts اللي كيتكرياو فاش كتكون خدام storyboards, and it's probably one of the reasons a lot of people don't use storyboards. C'est parce que merge conflicts, solving merge conflicts storyboard is just like too much, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Many people زعما one of the criticism كيف ما قلتي على storyboard هو حتى هو عند بحال قلتي كاين الايشيو ديال massive storyboards, like you put gas screens في one storyboard, فهمتي؟
I mean that's
كاين الايشيو ديال ديجا بعد storyboards it's very slow to load. صديق الا حطيتي a lot of storyboards, a lot of screen storyboards, like loading the file is gonna be very slow. And of course كاين ديال الايشيو ديال merge conflicts. The issue هو like resolving the merge conflicts ديال storyboard, it's very painful. You know حيت like مش كيطرا الميرج conflicts كيطلع لك واحد XML file و it's very hard to read the XML file. ماشي by the way ماشي بحال XML file ديال اندرويد. XML file it's very clean. XML file ديال iOS it's very hard بحال نقول تيكون ما تيكونش readable, تيكون داكشي كيسميوه
حيت ما مديورش
ما مديورش to be developer friendly. So كتبقى تقرا تقلب على داكشي وتخربق و eventually it doesn't work ومن بعد كتحيد ديك السكين وتعاود عاوتاني or something. So
I think that's kind of the main challenge around versioning, at least based on my experience. C'est plutôt merge conflicts that you get from storyboard.
Yeah, they are very hard to fix. De façon the best practice هو try to use exhibits instead of storyboards. Exhibits they are sort of contained. Usually it's not ما غاديش يطرا شي like merge conflict or anything.
100%.
Okay. What about CI/CD? CI/CD for iOS, unfortunately it's very expensive. فهمتي ماشي بحال الويب. I think الويب they have cheaper versions or sometimes they get even free. CI/CD I think the biggest player who if you can help me Zach remember the name who was Circle CI, of course.
Circle CI,
Circle CI they are the biggest players. Well, another problem again Circle CI is it's very expensive. كاينين some free options, mais كاين بحال تقول they are very limited. بحال مثلا كيعطيوك غير البيلد ما خصش يفوت مثلا 10 minutes, right? And usually مثلا انت البيلد ديالك مثلا if you have a big app البيلد it's gonna take 15 minutes, so obviously it's not gonna work. So sinon كاين je pense so far the best free option هو ديال Microsoft, it's called App Center. They have really a good free option. I've tried like in some apps اللي خدمت بيهم. It's sort of like the best free option right now. So if you want to go with like a paid option, I think Circle CI is the best. Right? Is the best option. Okay. I hope Yasin this answered your question.
I'm sure it did.
Okay,
what
another
about
question.
yeah? What about error tracking, monitoring? like زعما overall زعما شنو هما التولز ولا شنو هما اللايبريز اللي انت you like using في stack ديال iOS, c'est-à-dire for tracking, monitoring, for logging, for networking, for animation, for like all like some of the things that are kind of around iOS.
Okay. Yeah, so whenever I create a new project, I have a set of libraries اللي can install by default بحال مثلا مويا to organize the networking layer, because basically زعما I think كاع الابس اللي خدمت فيهم كانت فيهم a networking layer. So when I think دابا right now the majority apps فيهم من غير maybe if it's a game I guess or something like that. Yeah, the majority of apps they have some sort of networking layer. So organize it is very essential. And library I'm using here Moya. I use PromiseKit. It's the same بحال PromiseKit اللي كاين في Node.js. It helps like dealing with callback held. If you have callback, the completion handlers, they are called completion handlers
like
in iOS.
The pyramid of hell,
pyramid of hell, exactly. So if you have مثلا مثلا كتعيط واحد you call مثلا an API or a network you call an endpoint ومن بعد just after the endpoint you want to call another endpoint. Now if you don't use sort of like something بحال PromiseKit, you're going to end up with nested completion handlers like واحد وسط واحد, right? So PromiseKit solved this problem. I think there are some alternatives. كاين واحد ديال Facebook, and there's also another one ديال Google that was سميتو Promise. I think it's just called Promise. For error, for login I use Coco Lumberjack. So far زعما لحد الان باقي هو the best. It's by the way زعما هو ديال Objective-C era. It's still the best login framework. I use Coco Lumberjack ولوجلي معاه. So login كيمشي logly. For crash, like to track crashes and everything, I use Crashlytics. But recently I started using tool Microsoft, the App Center. So they have something similar, and it works probably the same way. And it's the same thing. Okay, what else? For you mentioned animation. I don't use any framework till animation. I use the built-in API ديال Apple Neat. I don't use mostly apps. I think الابس اللي خدمت عليهم they were not animation heavy. كانش فيهم a lot of animation. كتلقى مثلا غير one screen or two or just few screen, and كتقول زعما there is no need to بحال تقول pull a library just to do few animations in the app, right? So I just go with the native frameworks. I guess that's it. It's PromiseKit, and Moya. Another very cool thing.
What about Fastlane?
Fastlane, of course, for continuous delivery. That's for sure. Fastlane, it's
don't for CI/CD or for like deployment automation.
CI/CD, it's
Fastlane. Fastlane, okay.
Fastlane and App Center.
Okay.
For Fastlane for CD, App Center for CI, right?
Oh, right.
For databases, I used to use بحال كنت كنخدم بزاف Realm, right? But the problem is بحال قلت كاين واحد الباد براكسيس هنايا. Like many people غير الا مثلا كان غادي يستوري شي حاجه, كان غادي بيرزيستي شي داتا في like disk, they use Realm for that. And the thing is, sometimes like you don't need to use Realm, right? Sometimes مثلا you are storing the user session and you don't need to use like an entire database to cache the user session. You can just 100%. Work with
SQLite.
SQLite. You can just use something بحال lightweight, ما تكونش like very big.
100%.
Do you see what I mean? So دابا I stopped. مثلا الا كانت الاب فيها غير مثلا caching the user session, الا كانت مثلا هادشي اللي غنبيرزيستي, I just go with native APIs. تا SQLite ما كنخدمش بها. مثلا
PLS,
I use
you can have the PLS
chain.
stuff.
PLS ولا مثلا I use user defaults if زعما the data is not sensitive. Do you see what I mean? Donc voilà, that's the thing. I think for Realm I do remember que I think كنت واحد النهاريات كان عندي مشكل مع البيلد تايم. كان ديما like البيلد تايم very slow. When I did some investigation لقيت كو Realm هو الissue. It was the biggest issue. When I looked زعما بحال تقول why Realm is so slow لقيت فيه هو بوحدو 30 ميجا. Realm just Realm فريم ورك فيه 30 ميجا. والاذر
libraries.
فريم وركس والفريم وركس كامل الاخرين حتى هما فيهم 30 ميجا. يعني هو بوحدو ايكوالز الفريم وركس كامل اللي كاينين في الاب. Do you see it? Alors que I was using it just to start the user session. This doesn't make sense.
Well, parmi les problèmes, like the main problems they use in a lot of libraries, هو build size qui increase زعما.
It increase, build size.
With libraries you can get a lot of things done quickly. Mais en même temps, when you use a lot of libraries, surtout qu'il y a libraries they are like super huge. Realm is one of them. زعما ça va impacter le build size ديالك a lot. And you can sometimes get the same thing done غير plist ولا SQLite ولا you know just like have a text file. Just store to a like save to a text file وبارسي داكشي وبلا ما تتع راسك زعما. Also storing like YAML format ولا JSON format. You can store, you can also parse again, and kind of helps a lot. A long question from Zakaria, and thank you Zakaria for the question. It's kind of hard to see my face with the question. You mentioned that MVVM handled the problem, putting everything in view controller. MVPL is also good for that. If you have to choose between overriding or overstuff view controllers, what will you choose to do?
I've tried MVP. It was my favorite architecture for a while. So definitely it solves the massive view controller issue. But I think there was a case where بحال كان بزاف ديال reactivity. I think there was app كنت خدمت عليها وكان فيها a lot of بحال تقول reactive maybe reactivity. But what I mean by reactivity هو like you change something and then the UI it needs to react like changes. بحال basically the concept ديال react, right?
So there you have data coming in from the networking layer. وخص الUI layer
وحال تقول ماشي غير هذه كاين حتى the concept of state management في iOS. same problem اللي كاين بحال Redux اللي كاين في React. هو you change something مثلا في one screen and it needs to reflect other screens, right? مثلا you have one screen بدلتي شي لعيبه تماك مثلا you درتي شي edit ولا you create something وخص other screens في الاب حتى هما يتموديفياو. so بحال تقول they need to react to some changes. In VVM and with some frameworks ديال MVVM بحال مثلا RX Swift ولا other lightweight frameworks. I'm using Signal. هادو they work well with MVVM, right? بحال تقول they are more integrated. It doesn't make sense to use مثلا MVP and these sort of reactive frameworks, right? So this is why I switched architecture to MVVM. ومن بعد with the release of Swift UI كامل it's based on the reactive paradigm. So I think this is sort of the vision. This is like Apple فين غادا right now. They are going into the direction ديال reactive paradigm, reactive programming. They are going غادي الجيل ديال MVVM and so on and so forth. I think حتى Google like the documentation ديالهم في Android right now they are using MVVM as the default architecture instead. Previously I think it was MVP, right now it's MVVM. I hope Zach this answered your question.
Yes. Mohammed has a good question على when to go with hybrid solutions. I mean not hybrid solutions because React Native is not that hybrid. It's not like super hybrid بحال other solutions out there. Mais voilà, donc what's your take on hybrid versus native? When to go with one or the other?
زعما hybrid as in زعما ماشي React Native زعما as in pure hybrid.
Yeah, pure hybrid ولا React Native و other technology بحال React Native and then native زعما when does it make sense to use one or the other?
المهم I'm not زعما I've never tried like a pure hybrid framework. I think Apple, they are making it difficult for hybrid apps to make it to start. I think because they are deprecating UI web view, I guess. زعما الفريم ورك اللي كانوا بزاف ديال زعما الويب فيو اللي كان بحال تقول كيتبازاو عليه to build like hybrid apps. Right now it's deprecated, or بحال تقول they reject apps اللي they are pure hybrid unless if they are بحال تقول well built بشي طريقه like very clean or whatever.
Yeah.
So for React Native, as I said before, React Native زعما works very well زعما if بحال تقول زعما for the apps that I've seen, that I've mentioned before, بحال Artsy, I think they are handling like millions of users and it works very well for them, right? So I don't think like there's a problem really with React Native, but again, it depends on how the apps are implemented. There are some apps even though they are using React Native, somehow they manage to make the app fast and seamless and polished. And there are some apps, other apps, when they use like React Native, the end result looks شوية بحال تقول مهاكي شوية or maybe laggish and so on and so forth. So no, yeah, React Native is definitely React Native, I guess, and Flutter, they are really fantastic, really awesome frameworks.
For sure.
So yeah.
Je pense le main problem مع using React Native iOS, surtout React Native, c'est pas un problème ديال performance ou la things like that, mais c'est plutôt un problème ديال tooling ou les tools, they're like you're not gonna get the tools, the official tools ديال Apple necessarily, et du coup tu auras des problèmes مع like some things اللي كاينين في Xcode ما كاينينش في React Native, right? Et l'autre problème c'est que when you use React Native you still need to use like to write like iOS specific code. Like you're not going to be able to do everything shared maybe in iOS and Android, right?
Yeah,
like
indeed.
You have to write some iOS specific code, some Android specific code, and it complicates things for the developer. If you are a React Native developer, it means that you are a React Native developer, an iOS developer, an Android developer. It's a lot of roles to do زعما as a one person.
كيف ما قلتي اخي زاك زعما I know بحال تقول React Native ولا مثلا فيسبوك they are selling زعما you can build React Native apps زعما without maybe using Swift or whatever. But it's not the truth. زعما if you ask like a React Native, غيقول لك راه we still need to use some Swift and some Java ولا مثلا some Kotlin and so on and so forth.
هذا هو المين بروبلم، سي كو رياكت نيتيف ديفلوبر هو عندك ثلاثه ديال ديفلوبر في واحد، فهمتي؟ عندك سيم ديفلوبر كيدير اي او اس واندرويد ورياكت نيتيف، دونك خصو يكون عارف الاي بي ايز ديال اي او اس في سام كيسز بيان سور، خصو يكون عارف الاي بي ايز ديال اندرويد في سام كيسز، ويكون عارف نو سيرم يكون عارف اي بي اي ولانجويج، سير يكون عارف جافا ولا كوتلين سويفت، او ميم طون كدير رياكت نيتيف. It's a lot of stuff to do. Some people.
And by the way, you need to you need to be a good JavaScript developer if you are using the React Native. مثلا if مثلا iOS or if بغيت نخدم React Native, I really need to be a good JavaScript developer. Otherwise غادي طيح دوك المشاكل ديال JavaScript developers, JavaScript environment ديال تكون خدام في الاب كطلع لك undefined شي بلاصه، فهمتي؟ So you need to be a good JavaScript so to avoid this kind of problems.
Yeah,
and
I think
be a Swift developer.
Yeah, I think for small apps, for like small to medium apps, using hybrid is a good option. Mais à un certain moment it gets really complicated حيت حتى البويل سايد اللي هضرتي عليه قبيلات حتى هو كيولي نوتيسابل في الاول. واخا الاب كتكون كبيره ماشي مشكل، مي اون فوا ولا مثلا كتولي بحال فيسبوك كتديستريبيو الاب to all countries، ميم الكونتريز اللي ما عندهمش كونيكسيون مزيانه سوان، البويل سايز كيولي مهم بزاف. وبرياكت نيتيف ديما البويل سايز ديالك غادي يكون كبير. اي سي باغمي لي غيزون علاش ماسنجر عاودوا رجعوه نيتيف. فيسبوك باي ذا واي راه
كاين حتى الايشيو ديال كاين اي ثينك حتى سيرتو if you are a big company، مثلا if you are a big company like Facebook، كاين حتى الايشيو ديال like مثلا فاش كيخرج لك نيو اي بي اي مثلا، ولا مثلا like بحال DevRev يخرجوا نيو فريم وركس يخرجوا نيو اي بي ايز، they're not gonna be available immediately for React Native. So you need to wait. If you're a small company, maybe that's not a big problem. If you are Facebook and you have competition, you need to release things quickly, and you don't want to wait. Best sheets and integrate React Native. Do you see the problem here? This is like more a problem for big companies than small companies. So yeah, if you are a medium, maybe small, medium companies, it's okay to use React Native. Okay.
100%. Another question from Zakaria about concurrency and Muchadureden. Do you still use GDC or are you using something else?
I don't use ML GDC directly, right? I don't use ML dispatch queue like the API directly. I usually use it through Promise Kit, right? ديجا زعما majority of time multi trading تيكون غير في النيتوركين و most of the time, and I usually بحال تقول wrap I wrap the Alamo Fire callback في شي promise, I return a promise instead. وحتى إلا كنت غادي نكري like an asynchronous function, I use Promise Kit, right? I don't use GDC or so I guess that's
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. زعما جو بونس جي دي سي كانوا كان اليوز كيسز ديالو فريمون سبيسيفيك في موست ابس بيان سور اللي هو نيتوركين تماك فين كان كيتستعمل بزاف when you're like loading images في table view things like that, right? Mais je pense most frameworks ولا most libraries ديال networking ولاو دابا like GDC is just like part of the deal, like you don't have to call it yourself.
وستوك هو GDC البروبلم ديالو هو it doesn't solve the problem ديال callback hell, right? زعما if you rely heavily on it, you're gonna end up with callback hell. So you're gonna end up calling GDC and callback and everything. So this is like I use them a Promise Kit instead, right?
Yes. So to answer your question, Zakaria, so it's Promise Kit, and then for other use cases, généralement library you're using for that probably will call GDC for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's already 1 hour in. Thank you very much, Salim, for all the answers. Thank you very much for the folks who joined us today. We really appreciate it, and we're gonna have probably the resume hacks episode either next week or the week after. We'll make an announcement about that probably in the coming days. Voilà. If you have more questions, let us know for Facebook page. We're gonna have a new community probably in the next days. Il y avait un sondage sur le Facebook page على Slack versus Discord, like which ones is preferred. Et also on Instagram, je pense. Plus ou moins, most of you answered that Discord is better to Slack. I think it's kind of understandable because a lot of people who are also into gaming, they kind of like Discord. So definitely stay tuned in for that Discord community, the DevRev community on the Discord. And we'll announce it to the Facebook page. If you're not following us yet, please do. Comme ça, we can have our like updates, news, new episodes, new content. And again, thank you to everyone who watched. You guys are kind of the ones making all of this possible. And thank you again, Salim.
Thank you, Zach.
It was great having you over, and cheers. Until next week. Enjoy the summer. Cheers.
Yeah, summer.
Yeah, I mean,
Cheers, Zach. Bye.
cheers.